Imagine a real-life spy thriller. Like something straight out of Ocean's 11, maybe.
But with, actual global stakes, huge geopolitical consequences.
Exactly. This isn't Hollywood. It's the meticulous, high-stakes reality of intelligence work. So today, we're doing a deep dive into one of the most, audacious intelligence heists in modern history.
The 2018 Mossad operation. Sealing Iran's secret nuclear archives.
That's the one. Our mission here is to help you understand not just what happened, but why it mattered so much, why this one event had such ripples.
And we've got quite a bit to draw on: in-depth reports, intelligence analyses, even some first-hand accounts. It really paints an incredible picture.
It really does. It's a story with hidden layers.
Absolutely. And maybe the best place to start is, the night itself, to really get a feel for it.
Okay, let's set the scene. January 31st, 2018. Picture the Mossad's Situation Room, state-of-the-art, just outside Tel Aviv.
Right. Packed with people. Spies, analysts, operations chiefs.
All eyes glued to these big plasma screens, just waiting.
Waiting for the word. And you've got Yossi Cohen, the Mossad chief, very dapper apparently, just watching the clock.
The tension must have been, you can only imagine.
And it's all about precision. Because at exactly 10:31 p.m., Cohen gives the order. Just one word.
Execute.
Execute. And hundreds of miles away, in Iran, the team moves.
They're poised in this seemingly ordinary place, Shirobad.
Yeah, an industrial neighborhood, southern outskirts of Tehran. So it looks like a bunch of warehouses, corrugated iron roofs, that kind of thing, drab.
Designed to be overlooked.
Precisely. But inside one of those warehouses.
That's where the action is. And the team has 24 Mossad operatives.
Likely a mix.
Yep.
Israeli agents, probably some Iranians opposed to the regime, too.
And they move fast, break in, use these high-temperature blowtorches.
Yeah, to get through steel vaults.
And then they start pulling out files, physical files, electronic data.
The entire record, 30 years of Iran's nuclear weapons program efforts.
Just thinking about the logistics of that, getting something so massive out under that kind of pressure.
Well, that's where the clock comes in. It's absolutely critical.
Right, Cohen watching the clock back in Tel Aviv.
Because the team had exactly 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours to find it all, load it up, and vanish.
Get out before they're discovered. Because Iranian justice, wouldn't be pleasant.
And somehow they pull it off. By morning, they walk out.
With half a ton of material. Hard files, CDs. It might be the largest physical intelligence heist from an enemy capital ever.
Half a ton. That's staggering.
Within hours, they're heading for the border. Trucks. Decoys.
Camouflage. And back in Tel Aviv. Relief, I imagine. Triumph.
Huge relief. But here's the kicker, the really stunning part.
Go on.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and his top nuclear guy, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh.
Yeah.
They had no idea this was happening. None.
Even though the archive was in Shirobad, they put it there.
They put it there specifically to keep it safe. They thought it was hidden from precisely this kind of operation.
Wow. Yeah. That level of operational security, or rather, the breach of it, it's incredible.
It really is. But this didn't just happen overnight. This whole thing was years in the making.
So why? What was the driving force behind taking such an enormous risk?
The decision actually goes back 2 years earlier, January 2016.
Okay.
Yossi Cohen had just been appointed Mossad chief. He gets called in by Prime Minister Netanyahu.
And Netanyahu gives him the mission.
Pretty much lays it out. He says, according to the sources, we need not only to convince the world that Iran lied about its nuclear weapons program, we need to show the world.
Show, not just tell. That's a high bar.
It is, and it's all tied to the 2015 nuclear deal, the JCPOA.
Right, the deal Iran signed with the U.S. and other world powers.
Exactly. Now, proponents saw it as historic. Iran limits uranium enrichment, sanctions get eased.
But Netanyahu hated it.
Hated it, called it a disaster. He particularly objected to the Sunset Clause's restrictions easing by 2030.
And he just didn't trust Iran to comply.
Deep distrust.
Yeah.
Plus, the deal effectively tied Israel's hands, curtailing the kind of covert actions they'd been taking against Iran's program before.
So the archive heist was seen as a way to get proof. Proof Iran had lied about its past military work.
Precisely. Undermine the deal, justify going back to more aggressive covert ops. That was the goal.
So Cohen gets his marching orders. Who does he bring in?
His top people.
Yeah.
Deputy Ehud Lavi, he ran Caesarea, the unit for really sensitive ops, and Kidan, the assassination squad.
Heavy hitters.
Absolutely. David Daddy Barnea, head of Summit, that's the division for recruiting agents, and Dr. Ayal Hulata, head of technology.
So operations, human intelligence, technology, all the key pillars.
You need all of them for something this complex. Netanyahu apparently even asked Cohen, what if they have an electronic copy? Would stealing the physical files even matter that much?
Good question. What was Cohen's take?
He believed Iran's obsession with secrecy might mean they only had paper files, maybe didn't trust digital copies.
Interesting. And Netanyahu bought that.
He was pleased with the assessment, gave the green light.
And Cohen decided to run it himself.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, it was that important. He pulled in resources from everywhere, military intelligence too, using their Hugent system.
What's Hugent?
It's like a synthesis of human intelligence spies, agents, and signals, intelligence, electronic intercepts, that kind of thing, combining everything.
Shows how deep they were trying to go.
And they were deep. They had recruited agents high up. Someone codenamed Nasiri, reportedly a top deputy to Fakhrizadeh himself.
Wow.
Yeah, the penetration was apparently so significant that a former Iranian intelligence minister publicly warned Mossad's influence was vast.
So they knew about the archives before Cohen took over?
His predecessor knew they existed, yes. But finding the actual location, that happened about a month after Cohen started. Testament to that deep network.
Okay, so the plan is forming, but there's this huge political dimension, the U.S.
Right. The Obama administration, they were the main drivers of the JCPOA.
And Israel knew they wouldn't be happy about an operation designed to wreck it.
Exactly. Relations were already tense. West Bank settlements, Palestinian talks. Netanyahu had even gone to Congress and slammed the deal, which didn't help things with Obama.
But then?
Then came November 2016. Donald Trump wins the election.
And everything changes.
Completely.
Yeah.
Trump campaigned against the Iran deal.
Which must have thrilled Netanyahu, and probably others in the region.
Oh, yeah. Most Israelis across the political map, actually. And the Sunni Arab states, like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they feared Iran even more than Israel did.
So a new era begins.
Definitely.
No.
Netanyahu and Trump meet in January 2017. Very warm meeting. Iran is top of the agenda.
And they agree on closer cooperation.
Unparalleled intelligence sharing, coordinated operations against Iran. It was a green light from Washington, essentially.
And this is where the relationship between the intelligence chiefs becomes key. Cohen and Mike Pompeo, the CIA director.
Absolutely critical. Sources say they had instant chemistry, led to really close professional and personal collaboration.
What did that look like in practice, this close bond?
Well, Pompeo apparently joked about recognizing Cohen from surveillance photos, which tells you something about their rapport.
Yeah.
And later, Pompeo recalled getting an urgent call from Cohen. Cohen needed help getting agents out after a very important mission.
This mission.
Seems likely. Pompeo acted immediately, helped guide them to safety within days.
That's a serious level of trust and cooperation.
It was. Years later, even after leaving office, Pompeo showed up at Cohen's secret farewell ceremony. That says a lot.
Okay, so Israel's got the plan, they've got U.S. backing, or at least tacit approval. What's happening in Iran while all this is going on?
Well, Ayatollah Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, he's got his own nuclear headaches.
He's the ultimate authority there.
Right. Deeply religious figure, looks modest, but he consolidated power ruthlessly, ruled with an iron fist.
And he signed the JCPOA, but wasn't entirely sold on it.
He had serious misgivings.
Yeah.
He was persuaded by moderates like President Rouhani and foreign ministers, Zarif, Western-educated guys. They convinced him to, quote, drink from the poison chalice to get sanctions lifted.
Against the advice of hardliners.
Yeah. People like Qasem Soleimani, the head of the IRGC's Quds Force, he was against the deal.
So who did Khamenei really listen to on the nuclear file?
Primarily Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, the father of Iran's military nuclear program.
The guy whose deputy was potentially a Mossad agent.
The very same. Fakhrizadeh assured Khamenei that any concessions made under the JCPOA could be reversed quickly. That made the deal acceptable, just about.
And Fakhrizadeh had history here, the AMOD project.
Right. Iran's first big push for nuclear weapons, supposedly suspended back in 2003.
Why then?
Fear of a U.S. invasion, basically, like what happened in Iraq.
So Fakhrizadeh supposedly shut it down,
But he masterminded what sources call a brilliant program of concealment and deception over just 8 days in 2003.
What did that involve?
Downsizing, but preserving everything important, splitting things up, embedding military bits into civilian programs, continuing work secretly.
And this concealment program, that's where the archives came from.
Exactly. That's when this massive collection of documents and data was created to preserve the knowledge. Fakhrizadeh was good at this. He fooled Western intelligence for years. Fordo, the secret nuclear site. He kept that hidden until 2009.
So when Trump got elected, Khamenei got nervous again.
Yes. He ordered the program to go even deeper underground.
And Fakhrizadeh was involved in moving the archive.
He was key, along with Khamenei and the defense minister Hossein Degani.
Who's Degani?
Another hardliner.
Yeah.
Involved in the 1979 U.S. Embassy hostage crisis, helped found Hezbollah, a radical figure.
So these three decide to move the archive. Why?
Because the JCPOA, even though Iran was cheating, required them to give the IAEA, the UN nuclear watchdog, some access to past activities. They hadn't revealed the full military history.
And they worried the current location was too vulnerable.
Too exposed, yeah. They need somewhere safer.
Enter Shirobad.
Exactly. It was chosen from a list of options, just a rundown warehouse. They figured no intelligence agency would look twice at it.
Degani provided security. Khamenei felt confident.
Confident it was safe, secure, off the radar.
But what Khamenei didn't know
was that Mossad was watching, tracking key people. They followed the archive's transfer to Shirobad without much trouble.
Okay, so Mossad knows where it is now, but that creates a new problem.
A huge problem. They know the location, but they don't know the specifics inside. How is it stored? What's the security layout? How do you get the really incriminating stuff out of half a ton of documents?
And how do you breach the place without getting caught?
Right. Sending in Israeli commandos. Too risky. High chance of capture, show trials, executions, politically disastrous.
So they relied on local help.
That was the strategy. For years, Mossad had been cultivating contacts inside Iran. Dissidents, minority groups, even controversial groups like the MEK, the Mujahedin Khalq.
Weren't they reported to have received U.S. training and worked with Mossad before?
There were reports to that effect, yes. Working on assassinations, things like that. Very controversial group, but potentially useful assets on the ground.
But even with local assets and surveillance, there was still a gap. They needed more specifics.
A critical information gap, yeah.
Yeah.
Technical details about the warehouse interior, the security systems. So they made a very high-risk decision.
Which was?
To send an Israeli agent into Tehran, undercover.
Wow. Directly into the capital.
They chose a woman, a Farsi-speaking engineer. The thinking was a woman might attract less suspicion.
Was she alone?
No, accompanied by a man posing as a couple. They made multiple trips to the area around the warehouse.
Scoping it out.
Exactly. Changing their appearance slightly each time. Trying to blend in, gather those crucial details.
That must have been incredibly tense back at Mossad HQ.
Cohen and his team were in nervous anxiety, according to sources, until she got back safely. The personal risk for that agent was immense.
But she got the intel they needed.
Vital intelligence. But then the operation got put on hold.
Frozen. Why?
This was through 2017. The Trump administration was still trying diplomacy, trying to get Iran to agree to changes to close the JCPOA loopholes.
So Mossad waited.
They waited. The green light finally came in early 2018. Trump's position had hardened. He refused to certify Iran's compliance back in October 2017.
And Pompeo signaled they were likely pulling out the deal.
Right. The diplomatic track was closing. The window for the operation was opening.
And that leads to Davos, late January 2018.
Netanyahu meets Trump at the World Economic Forum, and he tells him, reveals the Mossad operation is imminent.
What was Trump's reaction?
He asked, is it dangerous?
And Netanyahu's response?
The danger is not negligible, but the outcome justifies the risk.
So the final go ahead?
The stage was set. This was it. The culmination of over 2 years of work, hundreds of Mossad people involved.
Intel officers, code breakers, hackers, cyber experts, linguists, tech specialists.
All working with, as the sources put it, resolve, determination, creativity, and courage.
To get their hands on the truth. Incredible lead up. Now, the night itself. The Ocean's 11 moment.
Yeah, and conditions were, well, almost strangely perfect that night.
How so?
There was a total lunar eclipse. So an unusually dark night.
Good for covert ops.
And then a dense fog rolled into Tehran, an extra layer of cover. Plus, it was freezing 24 degrees Fahrenheit.
So the team going in needed protection from the cold, too.
Dark thermals for warmth and flexibility. Night vision goggles, naturally. And pistols with silencers.
And inside the warehouse, what did they find?
It was cramped. 2 big shipping containers. Inside those, 2 rows of steel vaults, 8 in each row, about 2 meters high.
16 vaults total. Or 32. I read 32 somewhere.
Ah, good catch, yes. Sources often mention 32 safes or vaults in total, perhaps 16 per container in 2 rows. The key thing is they couldn't take everything.
Too much weight, too little time.
Exactly. They had to cut through the steel and grab only the most important stuff, the high-value intelligence, to keep it under that half-ton limit.
How did they know what to take and how to get in so precisely?
Rehearsals. Meticulous rehearsals. They built a full-scale model of the warehouse section in another country, classified location, obviously.
Practice the whole thing.
Countless times. They even got hold of identical Iranian-made safes to practice breaking into them.
So when they went in, it was muscle memory almost.
Pretty much. Thanks to that female engineer agent and other sources, they knew everything down to the last inch. Where specific files were, how to disable alarms, cameras.
Cohen called it Ocean's 11 style. What does that imply? Sophisticated bypassing of security.
It suggests more than just cutting wires, yeah. Experts think they likely did something clever, maybe splicing into network cables to feed fake video to security monitors.
Or slipping a device inside beforehand.
Possibly. Something to hack the alarm systems quietly from within. A blend of physical break-in and cyber tactics.
And the guards.
Only lightly guarded. Just 2 guards, apparently, and they left at 10 p.m., weren't due back until 7 a.m.
Which gave the team
exactly 6 hours and 29 minutes from entry to getaway.
So 10:31 p.m., alarms neutralized, doors forced, smooth start.
Mostly smooth, but then a hitch.
Okay.
Last-minute problem.
What happened?
Some items inside had been moved. Within the last 24 hours. Things weren't exactly where the rehearsals predicted.
Whoa, that must have caused panic.
Tense consultations back with Cohen via secure comms. He had to make a call.
And?
He rolled the dice, as one account puts it, gave the go-ahead to proceed.
Trusting the team's knowledge to adapt.
Their intimate knowledge was key. They could adjust on the fly. They used special blowtorches 300 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit to burn through the steel.
Did they open all 32 vaults?
No, just 6 of them, focusing on the highest priority targets.
And what was the main prize?
A collection of black binders containing detailed bond designs. That was the core intelligence they needed.
But they found more.
A big bonus. Over 100 CDs packed with data, 55,000 files, videos, photos of secret experiments. A treasure trove.
All loaded onto 2 trucks.
2 trucks, leaving at exactly 5 a.m., taking separate routes, heading for different points on the border with Azerbaijan.
Smart to split up. And they sent data back immediately.
Yeah, digital photos of key findings were transmitted back to Israel while the trucks were still rolling. Insurance in case the physical haul didn't make it.
And Cohen watched this unfold live.
In the Situation Room, yes. Listening as Farsi-speaking analysts confirmed, binder by binder, CD by CD, that they had captured Iran's military nuclear secrets.
Incredible moment. So, the escape. Was it like a movie chase scene? Sirens, roadblocks?
But actually, no, not immediately. The break-in wasn't even discovered until 7 a.m.
2 hours after the trucks left.
Exactly. So no hot pursuit initially.
But once they realized.
All hell broke loose. Khamenei, the new defense minister, Amir Hatami, Qasem Soleimani, they ordered everything sealed. Land, sea, air borders, thousands of agents mobilized. A nationwide manhunt.
Making the escape incredibly dangerous.
Extremely nail-biting for everyone waiting back in Israel. How did they get out?
Details are obviously classified, heavily censored, but leaks suggest a pretty complex plan. Yeah, decoys. Some team members scattered, others who weren't actually involved in the theft itself might have deliberately drawn attention elsewhere. And the border crossing, Azerbaijan.
Reports suggest they might have exploited the existing drug smuggling routes across that border. It's known to be porous.
So, payments to smugglers. Compromised border guards.
Seems plausible, yeah. A way to slip through the net. Apparently only 2 Mossad agents were left in each truck by the time they reached the border itself. The rest had peeled off.
Did everyone make it out?
All agents got out of Iran safely. That's the bottom line.
But it wasn't simple. Some needed extraction.
Some did, yes. It involved Israeli military intelligence, special forces, maybe even air support planes or helicopters, picking them up from designated spots. A complex exfiltration.
The relief must have been immense when they were all confirmed safe.
Cohen, who is moderately religious, reportedly chanted a prayer of thanks when he got home. You can understand why.
And Netanyahu
Thanked the team profusely, called it a magnificent service to Israel and the world.
How did Iran react publicly? Or privately?
Khamenei was reportedly stunned. It was a rare moment, a source said, where he just hadn't seen this kind of setback coming.
Fakhrizadeh must have been furious and worried.
He immediately started assessing what exactly was stolen and advising Khamenei on how to handle the inevitable revelations, beyond just issuing generic denials, which nobody really believed.
Did Iran retaliate quickly?
Interestingly, they kept the heist itself secret initially, but the tension spiked almost immediately. Just 11 days later, February 10th.
What happened?
An Iranian drone, packed with explosives, flew into Israel from Syria. Israel shot it down.
And Israel hit back.
struck Iranian positions inside Syria. During that retaliation, Syrian anti-aircraft fire shot down an Israeli F-16 fighter jet.
That was a big deal, right? First Israeli jet lost in combat in decades.
Nearly 40 years. And crucially, it marked the first direct military clash between Israeli and Iranian forces, even though it was in a third country, Syria.
So the gloves were coming off even before the archive theft was public knowledge.
Absolutely. Israel kept quiet about the heist itself for a few more months, though they were sharing some of the intel with the Americans privately.
Iran must have hoped Israel wouldn't use the information publicly.
That was likely their main goal, damage control, prevent Israel from leveraging the stolen secrets. But that hope, well, it didn't last long. April 30th, 2018.
The day Netanyahu revealed it all.
To the entire world. Showing the binders, the CDs, the proof, and everyone saw just how decisive this gamble, this heist, had truly been.
And what the world saw that day was pretty damning, wasn't it?
It was irrefutable. Details from Project Ahmad, Iran's organized, covert military nuclear program, bomb designs, experiments, directly contradicting Iran's public stance of only having a peaceful program.
And that directly led to?
Just days later, the Trump administration formally withdrew the U.S. from the JCPOA. The archive reveal provided the final justification they needed. It completely changed the game in terms of nuclear diplomacy.
So what started as this incredibly daring, precise intelligence op
escalated rapidly, became a pivotal moment, reshaping the entire geopolitical landscape of the Middle East.
It wasn't just spycraft. It was a strategic bomb that altered the balance of power, directly influenced U.S. foreign policy.
Demonstrably so. And this whole story, this deep dive, it really highlights how this kind of high-stakes intelligence can still be gathered, even from supposedly secure locations.
And then how that information can be weaponized politically to challenge international agreements and drive totally new policies.
Absolutely. So as you think about the sheer audacity, the planning, the bravery, the deception involved here, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
About the hidden layers.
Yeah. What else is going on beneath the surface? How many other operations like this, completely unseen, might be shaping world events right now?
And what other secrets are out there waiting to be uncovered that could just completely redefine how we understand